Buddha said the root of suffering is attachment, meaning the more you cling, the more you suffer and stay stuck. Now, when you're attached to things, this is coming from the ego mind. The ego is attached. And when you're attached, operating from the ego, you're operating in these negative low frequencies, from shame to pride. And so when you're operating in these negative low frequencies, when you're attached, operating from that ego, this is when you are small, you're limited, and you are disempowered. It's when your electromagnetic field is contracted. And so you can't create a successful, abundant, wealthy life from these frequencies, from this energy. And so that is what's keeping you stuck. So it's about releasing attachment and moving out of the ego mind and more into the heart, which is the soul. And as you do that, you make your way up the scale of consciousness into these higher frequencies. So the ones in green are the more positive, high vibe energies. And when you start operating in these ones up here, your electromagnetic field starts expanding, and it can expand up to 9 meters wide. And then this is when you become a powerful creator, where you can start bringing in success, wealth, and abundance. So attachment is the ego's way of holding on. And that grip keeps you in fear, control, and resistance. It keeps you in those negative low frequencies. So the key is letting go, releasing attachment. When you let go, it opens you up to peace, freedom, and higher energy. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to release attachment, how to let go. And there are a number of things that we may need to let go of. We can have these attachments and not actually be aware of it. So I'm going to go through the different things that we can be attached to, things that we need to start becoming aware of letting go. And so the first one is people and relationships. So this is when you're clinging to others to feel complete. Another thing we need to let go of that we can be attached to is material possessions. So when you're attached to material possessions, this is when you're tying happiness to things, to your belongings. Another one is pleasure and comfort. So you can be attached to pleasure and comfort, resisting pain and chasing only pleasure. That's a form of attachment. Another one is ideas and beliefs. So this is where you're needing life to fit your mental picture. So it's about letting that go. Another one is status, identity, and ego. So this is where you're attached to labels. It could be successful, it could be smart, it could be nice. So it's about releasing attachment to labels. Another one is control. So the ego loves to be very controlling. And this is where you're trying to force life to go your way. Think of it like when you're trying to control, it's like you have the universe by its throat and you're going, this is how it's supposed to be. And that's not a very good energy to operate in. It's very resistant. And so that's what blocks things as well. So again, the ego loves to control. So it's about learning to release that control, release that attachment. The next one is expectations. And so this is where you're assuming people or situations should meet your standards. So let go of expectations and you replace expectations with appreciation. So instead of expecting things from people, you just appreciate, what people do for you instead. Another one is outcome. So it's very easy for the ego to be attached to outcome, how things are going to work out. And so this is when you're tying happiness to a specific result. I just got distracted because there's a cat on the roof and I hope it's not my cat. And the last one is desires. So your desires, whether it's like I want to be successful, I want to find a loving relationship, I want good health, whatever it may be, this is where you're craving what you don't yet have. And desire is on the scale of consciousness, so it's a very low frequency. When you're, really desiring something, you actually repel it, because when it comes to desires, if you have an attachment to your desire, it creates the resistance, it creates that resistant energy, and that's what repels your desires from you. When you learn to let go of your desires, this puts you in a more carefree energy, and that carefree energy is what actually causes you to attract it in. So now you understand that there's a lot of different things that we may need to let go of, and our ego can be attached to all of these things, and that's what's keeping us in these negative low frequencies, and that's what's keeping us stuck. So now the key is learning how to let go. And my cat just came in. Hello, girl. Wasn't her on the roof. That's good. So I'm going to share with you how to release this attachment. The first step is awareness. You can't make changes of things you're not aware of. So you've got to be aware of what your attachments are. And again, you can just have attachments that you don't even know are there. So awareness is always the first step. And then let's say you have this desire to be successful, but you weren't aware that you were attached to that, and then you became aware of it, like, oh, I'm attached to being successful. So then you can move into the second step, which is you want to release the emotional charge behind the attachment. So usually there's an emotional charge that is causing you to cling to the attachment. So the way you release the emotional charge is by allowing the energy to move through you. And you do this by applying Dr. David Hawkins' letting go technique. So we haven't really been taught how to deal with emotions. So what we do is we resist our emotions, and what you resist persists. So when you resist emotions, that's what keeps it in the body. But instead of resisting the emotion and keeping it stuck in the body, you want to accept the emotion. So let's say, okay, I've got this desire for success, and there's the emotion of desire there. And so what you do is you accept that emotional charge. You accept the desire, and you just allow it to be there. Like, you just sit with it, you be present, and you tell yourself it's okay to feel this emotion. And by doing that, you're allowing the energy to move through you. So that way it moves out of the body instead of being held in the body, if that makes sense. So again, you just let the emotion be there. It's okay for this desire for success to just be there and just observe it in the body. And as you do, you're allowing the emotion to run its course, and then it will just eventually clear itself out, and you will feel it leave. You'll feel the emotional charge release, and you'll be like, oh, it's gone, I'm good now. And you won't have that attachment anymore. So release the emotional charge behind the attachment. The third step is acceptance. So this is where you're just accepting life as it is. You're not trying to force anything. You're not trying to control it. You just accept. Because acceptance is a high frequency on the scale of consciousness. And so this doesn't mean you approve or agree. It just means you stop fighting reality, which frees your energy. So it's like you may have that strong desire for success, but you can accept where you are right now. You can accept your life as it is without having the success yet. And then you're operating in this more magnetic energy that's going to cause it to come in anyway. And then the last step, number 4, and this is the game changer. I literally do this every day, and it's meditation. Meditation is probably my favorite practice for moving out of the ego. So most people's awareness is up here operating from their ego mind. And again, it's the ego that's attached, clinging on to everything. But when you use practices where you move from the ego and into the heart and soul, which meditation's like my favorite way to do this, those attachments naturally just fall away because your awareness isn't operating up here in the ego, it's down here in the heart. And so what you want to do is go into meditation, and this is a practice, so the more you do it, the better you get. Learn to drop from the ego into the heart, and then once you learn to do that, you can start cultivating wholeness, gratitude, and presence in the body. So when you drop out of the ego mind, it's very easy, like it's a lot easier to get into these higher frequencies because your ego is basically just a program that's running through the mind. And so when you move out of the ego, all the programming falls away. All the negative fear-based thoughts, all that resistance just naturally falls away. And you become pure consciousness, pure awareness. And then you can just get yourself into this emotional state of wholeness, gratitude, presence. And when you get to that place, you have no attachments because you feel whole. This is what helps raise your vibration, expand your electromagnetic field, and then this is what causes you to be a powerful spiritual being that can create whatever you want in your life. And so that's what that meditation practice is, what leads you to being not attached because you're out of ego. And when you come out of the meditation and go about your day, you're still operating from the heart and soul, that it keeps the ego quiet with all the negative fear-based thinking or all those attachments that it has. And you do that every day, like you create a daily practice. It's a great way to keep you in these higher frequencies. And then when you learn to sustain the higher frequencies, it will start creating shifts in your reality. You'll start noticing things shifting and things coming easier to you. You start attracting instead of chasing. So that's it. That's all you got to do. Start releasing the emotional charge behind your attachments. You got to become aware of the attachments first. Release the emotional charge. Accept where you're at in life and how your life is. And then have a daily meditation practice, cultivating that wholeness, that gratitude, that presence. That is what's going to get you unstuck. That is what's going to make you powerful. So I hope you enjoyed this video and got value. And if you did, smash the like button, write a comment. If you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification, and have an awesome day. Peace.